I'm an architect and urban planner, and most of the initial part of my career was spent in Gujarat, where I was working for a firm called Environmental Planning Collaborative, and then about 4 years back I moved to Bangalore and set up Alchemy Urban Systems. So I belong to this very small bunch of urban planners who still believe in physical planning, spatial planning, as a means to achieve urban sustainability at many levels. Now, urban form and sustainability is a topic which is very broad, and you can discuss a hell of a lot under that. So, but I'll restrict my presentation to just one aspect of the relationship between urban form and sustainability. So, the city consists of people. Okay, I've kept this light because I knew it was post lunch, and I can see people already feeling sleepy. So the presentation is a little light-hearted. So a city consists of people who are up to something, who are doing something or the other all the time, and these activities then generate spaces, form in a sense. So that's how urban form sort of evolves. And in most of our cities, we see that happening in a very chaotic, though interesting way. And then, all these people, activities happening in different locations need to communicate with each other. So you have all sorts of connections between people, some physical, some moving. So you have Bangalore, fairly chaotic urban environment. Now, the topic that I chose to focus on for this presentation is how to integrate the principal means of communication, which is transportation. Even though we have mobile phones, we would rather meet people face to face. Goods have to move. So, transportation still remains one of the major forms of binding a city together. Land transport and land use, which is just a fancy term that we planners use for what people are up to in a city. So you have activities spread all over the place. So what is land use transport integration? So this can also take many forms, and I will choose to restrict my presentation to one form of land use transport integration, which is aligning higher order land use and greater densities along corridors of greater access and higher capacity. Just to sort of decipher that a little bit, when I say higher order land use, what I mean is those land uses which attract more people, more goods, consume more energy. There is a lot happening in one place. So it could be a garden which is visited by thousands of people every evening. It could also be an office complex with thousands of people working there. It could be an educational institution where lots of people go. Those are all higher order land uses, and it also includes high density residential spaces. So if you have a high density pocket of housing, say an old city area, where Chandni Chowk in Delhi, or Chickpet, which is a high concentration of both residential and commercial. All those to me are higher order land uses. And when I say density, I mean not only a density of population. I also mean intensity of use. So people coming in large numbers and using a particular facility is also density. And now these, I would like to see them being aligned with corridors which provide greater access. Could be in terms of high capacity public transport systems. It could also be wider roads which carry more traffic. So those are corridors of greater access and higher capacity. This capacity here is meant to include all sorts of capacity. It could be more power available. It could be trunk lines of water supply, or better access to sanitation systems. Now this seems a pretty obvious thing, right? Wouldn't all higher order land uses automatically sort of align themselves with corridors of greater access and capacity? They do. The problem is that we don't really plan for it. So when that happens, our systems break down. So that's the what of it. Now why? Okay, this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but frankly, I mean, nowadays everybody is talking of sustainability and land use transport integration. It's smart growth. That's a very popular term now. So it sounds cool. So if there is a Rajnikant movie, everybody goes to see it. I mean, nobody thinks twice about it. So it's cool. So we're talking about it. Well, there are some other reasons. One is that it really optimizes the use of serviced urban land. So, I mean, if you align these two things, higher order uses and corridors of greater access and capacity, then your use of, by serviced urban land, what is meant is that land which has access to transportation and other infrastructure. Second is it optimizes the use of infrastructure, makes transport systems viable, and makes the city more eco-friendly. I mean, generally reduce the use of need to use energy, need for people to move around, etc. Now, how? Most cities have found a pretty simple solution in the last 5 years or so, when everybody woke up to the reality that this is something we need to do. So the simple solution is like this: you declare higher FSI, that's planner code for density of built up area, floor space index, the ratio of total built up area to land area. So declare higher FSI along the mass transit routes, like you're building a metro line. So you say that you will allow an FSI which is twice or thrice what is available in the rest of the area along the sides of the metro line. Then tell people that they can TDR, which is again jargon for transferring development rights. So if generally people are allowed to build a certain amount of built up area in as a matter of right across the city, then in some places you restrict that and you say that whatever amount of development rights we are depriving you of, you can sell that to somebody in another area. So that's called transfer of development rights. So you tell people they can TDR. And then, are there any Harry Potter fans in here? I am one. Okay. Now, then you need a magic spell, and it's called Expecto Integram. And then, land use transport integration happens. Like that. You have this mess, and once you cast the spell, that mess is gone. And then, along your transport corridor, high density comes up. Right? End of story. Thank you. End of presentation. Really? Sorry. That was meant to trick you. Really? I mean, this is what, at least some of you would have thought, really? Is that easy? This was my reaction to when I discovered that even cities like Bangalore think that it is that easy. That you put in a mass transport system, and then you say 400 meters or 500 meters on either side, I'm increasing the FSI, and that's the magic, and then everything is solved. No, you're going to create a mess, an absolute mess, because what will happen is when that density increases along the transport corridor, you do not have the water supply systems to cater to it, you do not have sanitation systems, you don't have power supply in place, you don't have the street space, public space, nothing at all. It involves a hell of a lot of micro level detailing to make that density sustainable in terms of quality of life. And this is the level of planning work which the sort of dying breed of urban planners like us have been arguing for, and we have been making very small headways. Now the example that I'm going to use to explain what needs to be done is from a city familiar to most of you. If you recognize it, just keep quiet, because I don't want to have the location, the specific location, interfere with the idea that I want to communicate in the next few minutes. Now the two red lines that you see in the middle are, that is the alignment of a major arterial road which is proposed in the city. And those green lines that you see, those are agricultural land holdings. some of them might have already turned residential, but they're mostly agricultural. So from the pattern of those green polygons, you will see that it's a haphazard layout, which works well when you're doing agriculture, but will not work when those plots start getting used for urban users, when you start putting up apartments and office buildings on them. Now, this exercise we did as a conceptual exercise to convince somebody to use a technique which is very popular in Gujarat and it is almost disappeared in Maharashtra, called land pooling. The term they use there is called town planning schemes. I have a friend in the audience who spent many years in Gujarat and even tried to make some software to support this, if I'm not mistaken, right? Now what they do in Gujarat is they take this, they mark out this patch of land and they reorganize the land holdings, taking a portion of land away from each plot of land. So if you had 1,000 square meters before this planning exercise, you would get back maybe 600 square meters. You would lose 400, but the 600 that remains with you will have a decent shape, will have access to a road, and eventually will have access to all the infrastructure that comes with a road. Now, all those patches of red, the plots that have colored red, those could be plots which are taken away or generated out of this land pooling exercise for public facilities. Having done this, now this is only two-dimensional. Now we have talked about densities. So if you want to influence density, then you get into the third dimension. So to start with, you say that as a matter of right, the same density is applicable in the entire area. Now these are roads and blocks here, building footprints you can see. So this is the matter of right density, meaning everybody gets the same. Then along the transportation corridor, you allow a higher density and charge for it. So this is, if it is FSI, if you call it FSI, then this is the saleable FSI. And not just that much, you go to one more level and say where there is a transportation node, like a metro station, or if it's a bus rapid transit system, then a major bus stand. Then around that you give an even higher FSI and you charge more for it. Now the money that accrues from this sort of a regime, you use that to build the infrastructure that is really required there. It's actually possible to integrate principles of urban design and landscape design at this scale if you use this sort of an approach. You can create more space in the public domain, which includes, as I said, pedestrian pathways, bicycle tracks, etc. Plazas and community spaces can be created, street vendors and hawkers can be integrated. Now, to implement this, you can use various approaches, but what we always recommend is a land pooling mechanism with or without transfer of development rights. And in that land pooling mechanism, you can even create land banks for value accrual to the authorities. It can be a means of financing. The additional development rights can be sold, and you can create regulation to enable market action, meaning all this can happen with government not acquiring land. And this has been demonstrated time and again very effectively in cities in Gujarat. Ahmedabad is a classical example. They built an 80-kilometer long ring road around the city without acquiring an inch of land. It was done completely using land pooling. And land pooling also creates an opportunity to do a participatory process. I mean, you don't have to evict anyone, and you can actually involve people in doing this sort of planning. And it works financially also. We had done an exercise in Pimpri-Chinchwad, where when they were planning the bus rapid transit system there, we realized that the city can actually generate 7,000 crores from this sort of land use transport integration. With that I end. Thank you.